let's start with the cloud computing. So if you see, we are giving the single line definition for cloud computing. Cloud computing is nothing but on demand delivery of IT resources over the internet. What do you mean by it? Okay, let me clarify this sentence. So, what do you mean by IT resources? IT resources are nothing but if you see any organizations or any company, right, they will utilize some kind of tools or some kind of hardware devices, right? Let's say computer, let's say laptop, or the network routers or switches, whatever it is, all are called as a IT resources. So before cloud, how it is? So when people are not using the cloud computing, right? So every organization should set up their own data center in their own location or in their own offices. So at that time, they need to maintain all of that infrastructure cost or the maintenance upgradation cost, everything they need to maintain on their own. But what happened after the cloud computing introduced? Okay, so after the cloud computing, people are using those resources, connecting them remotely. Okay, so if you get me correctly, those resources are what are the devices I'm talking about, hardware devices. Those are not going to be in the physical location of the client or physical location of the customer. Those are somewhere in the remote location via the internet. Using the internet, we are going to connect to those resources and utilizing those resources for our use cases. Maybe for web development, maybe for education purpose, maybe for the storage purpose, we are going to use those resources. Okay, we will deep dive into what are the services or what are the resources we can utilize as part of the cloud. So just I want to give you some glimpse on how exactly the cloud computing evolution has happened, when it was started, and how it is revolutionary the industry. Just I want to give some clarity to you. So if you see the below picture, right? So exactly this cloud term has started in the 1950s only by John McAfee. He actually started or come up with the idea of sharing the compute resources between the two or more people. But at that time, we all know, as like all the great ideas may be ahead of their time, right? So at that time, there is no such kind of technology advancement, or they are lacking with the funding and also that was an idea, but which is not yet implemented. Okay, and then from there it is started. After Amazon, we can say lot many service providers. We can say Microsoft Azure, we have Google Cloud, we have Oracle, we have Alibaba Cloud. So lot that. So year lot many providers are came up with their own clouds or cloud providing and everything. So now in the 2020s, this is the exactly era. Every organization, almost if you took 95% of the organizations are using cloud native platforms for their use cases, for their applications, because cloud computing is providing so many features to them in terms of cost or in terms of maintenance, whatever you take. So now why we are saying cloud computing is important is you take any kind of organization, cloud will be there. So that is the era present now. And if you look at the right side diagram, right, the three main categories I have mentioned: client, server, distributed, and cloud. So before cloud, as we mentioned, in the 1950s only started, right? So what are the categories there then? So in 1950 to 2020, now we are calling it as a cloud computing. Even before that also, cloud computing was there, but with the different names. Okay. So the main first categories was client server computing, where the shareable resources or the common resources are deployed as one mainframe server, which was a bigger when we maybe some people have already heard about mainframe computers and all, right. So that is exactly the server. And client computers are nothing but who are going to connect to that server, utilize those resources. Okay, so one server, one centralized server will be there, and maybe multiple clients, 10 or 5 or 15 clients will be there. They will connect to that centralized server. They will utilize the resources. That was the client server computing. And then distributed computing. Distributed computing is nothing but the same kind of client server, but here the common resource, the centralized server number is increased, and they actually sharing the resources via the internet or via the common network. inside the single organization, they connected over the common network and they're sharing the resources. And in the distributed computing, we have so many categories. Again, we have grid computing, we have utility computing, we have time sharing computing. These are again subtopics or subcategories of the distributed computing. But the main category is distributed computing, and distributed computing and the client server computing as the cornerstone of the evaluation of the cloud computing. What we are seeing today, and cloud computing we just discussed. It's on-demand delivery of the IT resources. Now, wherever you are in the world, there is no matter, right? There is no matter where you are in the world, you can utilize whatever the service you want, whether you want server, whether you want storage service, whether you want database service, whether you want analytics service, whether you want machine learning service, whatever service you want, you can simply connect to that via the internet. You don't need to set up that physically in your organization, in your location. Okay, so with that, I hope this slide is given some idea to you what is cloud computing when it started.